My name is Emmanuel Haambokoma. We are here at the Dominican Sisters. It's a special year for them as they'll be celebrating 100 years of their presence in Zambia.
My name's Mtade Elizabeth. I was at Ibenga, I'm on Ibenga line, from 93 to 95.
Charity Nsunge, Shitumba Numa, Fatima, 1978 to 1982.
Leontina Sampakayula, Monday. I'm an Ibenga night, and I was there in the 80s, and I'm now here in Saka. Thank you.
Rina Chilufya Kawimbe, Fatimanian, from 1994 to 1998.
My name is Tanya Nirongo. I'm a three-tier Dominican Convent Lusaka from 1976 to 1977, and then went to Ndola Convent, part of 77 to 78, and I did my senior secondary at Fatima Girls, 1979 to 1980.
How has that helped you to become the woman that you are, the mother that you are, and the auntie that you are?
I'm privileged and blessed. I really consider it a privilege to have been taught my entire life by the Dominican Sisters. And I still remember Sister Cordula. Sister Cordula was a very calm nun, and but very strict in her own way. She always had this side to her that was very motherly, and I think in her own way, I think for me it was extremely naughty. She embraced me as I was. She obviously understood that we're all different as people. I did make my grades, so it wasn't a big issue. But she was always very motherly, very to the point. And even when she would sit me down, and I'll talk about myself, even after I got into trouble, she would always counsel me. A nice human being, very nice. And then, especially when we were younger, in my primary school, I remember, she would always find time to teach us about what life ahead could be.
Talking about Sister Cordula, as we remember her, the first time I met her is 1989. I had left school, then I went and joined the sisters. So she was one of the sisters who were teaching us. So the first thing that struck me about her was appearance. When you look at her, she had a stunning beauty. She was very beautiful, big eyes, and she said very little, but in her silence and in her quietness, she said a lot of beautiful things. So the first impression was, does she talk to people? Will she ever even talk to me? But when I came into her space and she was teaching us, I would now discover that she was a very beautiful soul, very gentle, but she was a giant. I realized that she was a genius, very intelligent woman, but she was very spiritual as well. And she would make you very comfortable. If you do something wrong, she would not rebuke as such, but she would ask you a question that makes you think of an action that you've done and think of what mitigation you do. So she was most like looking at you in a probing manner. She would ask a question like she's probing, but she helps you to come to realization that what you've done is either right or wrong, and you do something about it. So that's the person that we remembering. But also, having shared the life with the Dominican Sisters for 12 years after leaving school as their pupil, now as a fellow sister, I felt that they were shaping me for something that I didn't really know until I came out of the convent and I'm in society and I became a teacher. So every time I'm handling a child in class, I'm thinking, what else can I do to make the best or take out the best out of this child? And that's why I chose a career path. Instead of just doing teaching, I went into counseling and I started doing, I really wanted to specialize in psychology so that I understand the mind of a child, because Sister Cordula and all the Dominican sisters made me realize that there is more to what we see in a person, if only we take time. So they took time to shape each one of us, regardless of our background. And that has made the woman that I am. I do that to my husband, I do that to my own children, to my relatives, and especially the girl child in school. I have a bias towards a girl child because I was in a girls' school, and the sisters made us believe that being a girl child is not a limit to anything. If anything, it's a springboard to reach the greatest height that you can.
I had my first experience with the Dominican Sisters when my elder sister joined the Dominican Sisters themselves. And for us, that's always been a sense of pride. It's given us a sense of pride and very good memories. The first time I encountered Sister Cordula when I saw her sitting on the same table with my parents and my elder sister, who was at that time just saying her vows. And then from there on, I happened to be privileged to be selected at Dominican Convent in Ndora. I learned something about the need to, to get to understand people beyond the faces you meet. So eventually, even today as we speak, we have family members that we're so close to, that the friends that we are really so close to, they are families who are not really family members, but we have ended up as a family. Instances when I'm not at a certain function and a friend of mine who is a very good friend of mine from these schools sits in for me, for my family, and I'm not there, and I'm still comfortable to know they are there and they've taken care of something. I can sit in for someone and they are not there and we deal. And that sense of belonging, the sense of togetherness, and a high sense of sincerity, I think that is what we really got pushed down the throat, and yeah, we swallowed it, and yes, believe you me, we are fattening and we are okay. This is something we've carried to society, and I'm really glad to have been a part of the Dominican Sisters' teachings. The importance of prayer, the importance of acceptance of others regardless of where they are coming from, the need to be true at all time. Whether you're angry, let it out. Keep calm. But go on, don't stop. Stand up, pick yourself up, ask yourself questions. What happened? What should I do? Where do I want to be?
On one of the walls of Fatima, I think it was in Block 1, was the sisters had different posters on the walls, and one of them caught my attention and affected my life then and still does. And this was the poem Desiderata. In one of the paragraphs of Desiderata was the message, "You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the skies. You have a right to be there. You have a right to be here." And that was my confidence in Fatima. I went into classroom knowing that I wanted to succeed, very confident, and I worked hard. And I realized if I worked hard, I had very good marks, and I enjoyed that. So I worked even harder, and I saw that if I worked even harder, I had even better marks, such that I would even get some awards at the end of the year in some subjects as best student. Before me at Fatima had been my older sister Jane, and in 1978 I came with my sister Mabel, so there were 3 of us at that time. And thereafter, 8 of us. We were 8 girls in my family. All of us went through Fatima. And Fatima was a game changer for us in terms of our lives and what we were to do thereafter and how we have impacted society and basically just how far we have come. And we were 8 girls, as I said, and all the girls over the years went to Fatima. So, like in a year in Fatima, there'd be like 3 of us. There'd be 3 of us, and there were fees to be paid. For us, the fees were never completely paid. Maybe a bit of the fees were paid, but the bulk of the fees and the needs for school were actually provided to us by the sisters. Sometimes there was a list of students that hadn't paid the fees in my time, and there was pressure on them to pay. And I would go to that list in Sister Pia's office and look at it, and I would remind Sister Pia that my father hadn't paid. And Sister Pia would tell me we would sort this out. And at the end of the term, because we live nearby, Sister Pia would ask us, several of us, myself and maybe 2 sisters who were at that time in Fatima, if we could come in during the holiday. So we would come in during the holiday, and she would give us assignments like covering all the history books, covering all these other textbooks, mending these mattresses, and doing this and that and that. And at the end of the holiday, at the end of such an exercise, we had all the school requirements that we needed, sometimes including uniforms, sometimes even fees paid. When my youngest sister, Chitavansunge, finished her grade 12 at Fatima, I can't remember which year, she's a lot younger than myself, my father received an award from the school, a certificate, and I think a seed to grow a crop or something like that, a bulk seed, and some agricultural inputs. Be honored as the one parent who had sent the highest number of children to the school. So 8 of us, there hadn't been another set of family, out of which 8 had come. And he was jokingly told, you probably have this record to the end of your life. My father passed on 4 years ago. Yes, he had that record up to the end of his life. There hasn't been another set of 8 children, all of whom went through Fatima, and all of whom went on in their lives to do quite great things.
Sister Cordula had just come into the country, and she was assigned to what we are calling St. Mary's now. In the 60s, she was there for 5 years, and prior to that, she was at the Dominican Convent in Cabo. She had met a few sisters who she moved with to Dominican Convent as teachers and students and so on and so forth. So when we were growing up, we were very young, she always talked about the sisters. But the one name that always resonated was Sister Cordula. Little did we know that 30 years later, we would be under her care. So it was very interesting when I first met her. I said, oh my God, it's actually you! You were this. So she says, yes, I remember Christine. I used to go a lot with her. She did this for me. And it was very nice to hear stories about my mom coming from a teacher who taught her. So lo and behold, all 4, the 3 girls in my family, myself, my 2 younger sisters, all went through the Dominican sister and also through Sister Cordula. So for me, the story is very amazing because I have a parent who was taught by her. Lo and behold, I go to Fatima in 1992, trained under the Dominicans. I learned patience because I was a very angry person. I was just always angry. I never talked, but I reacted. I stopped being violent. I became very patient. I'm a people person. At my farm, we take walks and we have a place which we've renamed the place of peace, the place of discussion, and the place where you get healed. Mom always talked about Sister Cordula taking them for walks, going to the community. At that time, I think Woodlands was the place they would go to see some orphans and stuff like that. She always talked about all these little things. Many years later, we did the same thing. It was quite interesting to find, oh, it's you. Wow. All right, here we go. The generation still lives on. Yeah. Even to my younger sister, where she was, I think she left school in 2000 and something, and left Sister Cordula there. but Fatima. But here we are talking about a woman who I think impacted so much on us, the value of love. Love everybody, regardless of who they are, where they are coming from, the status that they have. You may be a very wealthy person, but you're unhappy. But you who is a little bit lower can help and bring out the happiness of that person. Those are some of the values I learned from these Dominicans.
Yeah, I have a very, very profound feeling towards my life at Fatima, and I feel that it's been the foundation of the child or the woman that I've become. So in grade 9, I remember I was among the top 3 students. I had 525, and it was at a point where my parents completely ran out of money, and I had prayed every prayer. You know, one prayer I remember saying at this point, because I have done, like, I sat Jesus down. That's what I can say. I sat him down and I said, every time for me to go back to school, it's been crying, it's been praying. Sometimes the last minute would just happen, like, say for instance, someone comes to the farm and they say, we want to buy oranges. And I'm supposed to go to school the following day, so the money shows up somehow, and I get on the next bus that goes to school, and I show up in school. So now this is grade 9, I've passed, and I'm among the best 3 students, and I know how families are fighting for places at Fatima. So it's been 1 week, I haven't showed up for school. And at this point, other children with money should be able to take up this place. But the sisters still said, you know what? Come to school. Regardless of your debt from junior secondary school, just come. When your parents sell their maize, they'll be able to pay up. They knew it would take much, much longer than that. And that was the time that we were changing also headmistresses, and that's when Sister Cordula came in. So Sister Cordula heard about my story, and there's this brilliant girl. She's quite good, and she's very active in church. She's a good girl, but this is the problem we have. She is owing the school a lot of money, and when she heard the story, she didn't say anything to me. I walked around the school wondering when they'll just give up on me and send me back home. So when I was in grade 10 now, on credit, she comes and she calls me and says, I need to see you. And you know, like everyone has described Sister Cordula, she was beautiful, stern, but nice. And when she calls you, you're like, what is it now? I knew I had not done anything wrong, because I tried. At least, if I can't afford, at least let me be at my good behavior. So I knew it couldn't be something I've done. But maybe finally the school is just saying, Marina, your time is up here. We can no longer, keep you under other people's support. So she notices that I'm uncomfortable. So she decides to change the venue, because she called me to her office. She says, do you want to take a walk? And I said, oh God, what is this now? And she took me on a walk, and she says, Marina, I've been talking to families in Germany, and I've managed to find a family or 2 that are willing to not just pay your debt, but also see you through until you finish your grade 12. Wow. I don't know, unless you've been to that point, you have no idea. It didn't sink in immediately. I didn't even know what it meant, whether to jump, whether to hug sister. I didn't even react at the moment, but if you've been to a point like that in your life where you actually think they're now going to test me, and then it was like light had just come into my life. And all she asked me was, I don't want you to worry about your school fees anymore. I just want you to focus on your school and being the best version of yourself. Fast forward to grade 12, I get honored as the best student of the year. The only person I was thinking of when I was getting that award was Sister Cordula. From the moment she died, I haven't spoken to anybody, because I felt I'm going to dilute my experience with her and what she has done in my life. Today, I am a country manager for Zambia Fleet Services. I can't tell that story without Sister Cordula and the sisters in it.